Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we are going to be looking at a very popular option from Victorinox. This is the Victorinox Super Tinker. And this is actually a knife that I carried myself for about, off and on for about a year and a half, 2 years. Now, as of recently, I have kind of been straying away from it, and I've been cycling through some other 2 and 3 layer Victorinox knives that I like a lot. But during my time using the Super Tinker, I found that it was very handy and very, very useful. Let's get into the specs, and then we'll go through all the tools of the Victorinox Super Tinker. You know, one of the great things about Victorinox is how lightweight they are. And this particular knife comes in at 3 ounces, or about 86 grams. So very, very, very lightweight when you consider all the different functionality that they actually give you. Now, this is a 91 millimeter frame size, so that's going to come into, in imperial measurements, that's 3 9/16 of an inch. It's about an inch wide at its widest point over here, but it kind of tapers down to about 3/4 on this side. So that's about 25 millimeters here and about taper to about 19 on the opposite side. The thickness on here, because this is a 3-layer knife, is going to be 5/8 of an inch or about 16 millimeters. And it's right in the sweet spot where I think they're great pocketable knives. Once you start getting above 3-layer, I think they're getting a little chunky for me personally. I really like the single, 2, and 3-layer knives from Victorinox. I think they're really, really good options for everyday carry knives. Well, let's go through the tool set of the Super Tinker. Well, let's go through the tool set, and the first thing we're going to start with is going to be kind of one of those tools that Victorinox is really known for, you know. When you think about Victorinox, well, when I do, I think about their knife blade, their can opener, and their corkscrew. It's just something that automatically comes to mind. So the can opener on here is very, very good. Now, I tend to lean a little bit more towards the Leatherman can openers. Maybe it's just because I'm accustomed to them, but this is an exceptional can opener. And it also includes the little screwdriver on the front tip of that can opener as well. The next tool is another combination tool. You got your wire stripper, wire bender in that little notch there. You have the bottle cap lifter, and then you have your large driver. And then the next tool is going to be one of the tools that's one of my favorites. That's going to be the 91 millimeter scissors. These scissors work incredibly well. It always amazes me how really good Victorinox scissors are. They just really know how to do them right. Now, the weak point on here is going to be the little spring. That spring just always seemed weak to me, but lately I've kind of getting over it a little bit, if you will, because it's easily replaceable, so it's not that big of a deal. I just kind of have always preferred kind of the torsion bar style scissors. I just think that they would last longer, hold up better, but these scissors are phenomenally good. Next tool is going to be the knife blade. Now, we all know the Victorinox, their steel is a little bit more polished because they have a higher chromium content in their steel. Benefit to that is obviously better rust resistance, and you can easily clean these knives. So that's one very, very good thing about the Victorinox knives. The next tool is the little pin blade. Now, if there's one tool on here that I don't necessarily agree with, it's this one, because I know a lot of people like this little pin blade. They like to have that secondary blade on their knife. I personally would rather see something like they have in the Cadet, maybe with the combination nail file, nail cleaner. I think for me, it's kind of important on a pocket knife to have a little nail cleaner, nail file. It's just something that I kind of look for in my pocket knives. But this one's going to incorporate the little pin blade. On the opposite side, we have the Phillips screwdriver. And then next to that is going to be the parcel hook, or the all-purpose hook. Now, this has been around forever too. Used to be they package those packages or newspaper bundles or whatever with like burlap string, and this was meant to grab into the corners of those 2 strings so that you could easily carry those packages without the string cutting into your hands. We don't do that so much these days, but there are numerous different scenarios where this will come in handy. I personally haven't used it that much on any of my knives, but nonetheless, it has the parcel hook. The last tool on the frame here is going to be the awl. This is one of the tools that a lot of people like about Victorinox is their awls, and they're very good. There's nothing bad to say about them at all. The only problem that I ever have encountered with the awl on the Victorinox is the fact that it's in the same T-style fashion as the rest of these other implements on the back side. And so every once in a while you need, it'd be better if it was on the end of the knife. But nonetheless, the awl itself is a very, very good implement. Then it has the little key ring. And then you have your two scale tools. You have your toothpick on one side and the tweezers on the opposite. Now, the tweezers are not the most robust things in the world, but in a pinch, they will definitely help get little splinters and stuff out. So that is the tool set for the Victorinox Super Tinker. Let me kind of give you a couple of my thoughts on what I think about the Super Tinker, what I like, and some things I don't like as much. There's really only a couple of things that I don't necessarily care for on this knife, and we talked about one of them. One of them was the pen blade. I'd like to see that switched out for the file nail cleaner. But the other is the fact that this particular knife doesn't come included with plus scales. So you lose the ballpoint pen and you lose the little straight pen that would be housed here. But it has a space for the little straight pen that you could include that particular one. You could pick that up and add it in there. I've always felt that having a little straight pen, that little stainless steel straight pen, so many instances where I could have used that. I'm finding that I do like the ballpoint pen that comes with the Victorinox, especially when it has that little parcel hook, because you can use that little trick from Felix Imler where you just stick it in there and it locks it. It kind of locks it to the frame, and then you have a really decent writing pen actually. So those are the only two things that I really don't care for that much about this about the Super Tinker. Now, a couple of the reasons why I picked this particular knife up originally were mainly for the two drivers, the bigger drivers, and the scissors. Those were the two main things, because I really like Victorinox style scissors. They're just so good at what they do. The next thing is the drivers that I talked about. The reason I like this particular driver is because, first of all, it has that rest at 90 degrees. So if you need to get some torque on something, I like the fact that it rests in at 90. What's really great about this is how solidly it locks, though. And that thing just really snaps in there hard. And so when you're using that screwdriver in line, it's just really, really good. Now, I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, if you will, when it comes to this screwdriver. And this is because mostly I'm carrying a Victorinox knife as a kind of a supplement knife to a full-on multi-tool, which in my case is the Leatherman Surge. So this is a little bit redundant. And while I don't have need to pull corks out of wine bottles with the corkscrew, it offers some other usable functionality. It's actually really good if you have trying to get knots untied that are tied really tight. And I like the fact that it incorporates that little micro driver, because there's instances where I have definitely needed that little micro driver. So I've kind of leaned away from it. And I didn't ever think I would say that, because I've always, the Phillips has always come in more handy for me, but it's kind of redundant for me, if you will, when I'm carrying another multi-tool. So if I wasn't, though, I would probably still prefer the Phillips driver. Only kind of, it's not really even a gripe. It's just a personal preference is all it is. And you may like one over the other as well. Another good thing I like about this is the fact that it is so lightweight. I like that it's only 3-layer because it's incredibly pocket friendly. And I found that 2- and 3-layer knives really fit well in the fifth pocket of my jeans. More so the 2 layers, but they're not uncomfortable, if you will, because kind of the pet peeve of mine is having things rattling around the bottom of my pocket. And I would rather not have, this be up against my keys or something like that and the scales getting super scratched up. I'd rather it just be in a pocket by itself, apart from any kind of metal that's going to just prematurely damage the scales, if you will. So these are the things that I do like about this the Super Tinker. It has come in very, very handy for me. for the time that I carried it. Now, again, I don't carry this much anymore, but some people, one of the tools that's going to be missing on this is going to be the saw that Victorinox has. And if you need a saw, well, there's the good thing about Victorinox is there's so many other options that you can kind of mix and match and find the right knife for you. Nonetheless, the Super Tinker is a very handy little knife, very EDC, pocket-friendly knife, and one that I have really gotten a lot of use out of in my time carrying it. Well, this has been a look at the Super Tinker from Victorinox. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.